Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome back. If you were with us last Wednesday, that was October 26th, we released an interview that I did with Dr. Oudi Abouchacra. I think I got that right. I've been working on it. I screwed it up when I interviewed him. But Dr. Oudi, Oudi as he prefers to be called, he's the co-author of the book, Work Your Network with the 4 C's, which he co-authored with Dr. Ivan Meisner. And just quickly, the 4 C's are competence. How good are you at what you do? And I always use the term. I always think of it in terms of a handyman. A handyman coming out and how can they install that door? That's something that's close to my heart. I had a handyman come out just to install a door for me, and he put it in the wrong way. The way he put it in, it was a fire hazard. He wasn't competent in what he did. Nice guy, but he wasn't good at what he did. I had to redo it. Just didn't have the time originally. I should have just done it myself. But anyhow, that's competence. That's the first C. Second is credibility. How much do you trust? How much do people trust you? That's your credibility. Now, the handyman I had come out, I trusted him. I gave him money to go to the Home Depot and go get the door. He got the wrong door. But I trusted him. He just wasn't competent in doing it. And then the next C is clarity. How well do you communicate about your area of expertise? Again, back to the handyman. I can install a door. I can reinstall a door, hang a door as it would be termed. And then the last C is connectivity. How well connected are they? And that's certainly important because you want people in your network who are well connected. But what I want to do, and I've been thinking about this since my interview with Oudi, and thinking about these 4 C's and which is the most critical. Now, we can argue on all of these. There's a case to be made for each and every one of these. Yes, you need to have competence. You need to have competence in whatever it is you do. You need to know how to do tax returns, hang a door, how to do legal filings. You need to have competence with respect to your area of expertise. And I argue everybody has got an area of expertise. You spend 40 plus hours a week doing something, you're going to get a nuance about the stuff that you do that other people are not going to get. And so it just kind of goes to competence. There's something to be said about experience. There's something to be said about experience. I have a plumber comes out, struggles with something. He calls the old-time plumber who's probably seen it 7 or 8 times before and has a quick fix for it, whereas the new person doesn't. So there's something to be said for experience. So there's certainly an argument for competence. Credibility, being trustworthy. Yeah, there's an argument for that. There's certainly an argument for being trustworthy. If you're not trusted, if you're not reliable, nothing else really matters. And I would venture to say, if all of these things are, and if any of these things are a scale of 1 to 10 is 0, 0 being the lowest. I guess that's not 1 to 10. But if any of these things are a 1, it really impairs the ability to get referrals. Any one of these. But the one I think that is, I don't want to say is the most important, but it's a key to getting referrals. And I think it's clarity. I see more often than not clarity being the biggest problem. Again, I think with respect to competence, when you spend time doing whatever it is you do, building websites, being a graphic designer, being the printer, even if you're the print broker, knowing what can be done and what can't be done, workarounds for problems. It's amazing the types of things that you come across when you're working something 40, 50, 60 hours a week. If you have insurance, you have probably pretty vanilla insurance. You have homeowners policy, you have auto policy. It's got the basic coverages, not the minimum coverages, but the basic coverages. But the insurance agent sees that 75% of the time during a day. I'm just making up percentages, but the other 25%, it's all the really interesting things. The person who just is using their car for this or that. There's something special about how they use their car, or something special about what they have in their house. There's collectibles in the house. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars of china or sports memorabilia, and how that's handled. Those are all little nuances. Or maybe they're the toys, they're the RVs or the four-wheelers or things like that most people don't have. And so I think in time we all have confidence. Maybe not everything, maybe not total confidence. Maybe we're not that old-timer plumber who's got 50 years under his belt and seen all sorts of things that most people didn't even know were there, or the locksmith. I know a locksmith, Frank Keys Reed, has been around forever, and he's seen it all. So confidence just comes in time. I think credibility, same thing. I think that we develop a level of credibility, a level of reliability, a level of trustworthiness in time. If you don't, you're going to be continually scrambling to build your network. But if you have a network of people, you probably have a level of credibility. You're showing up in their life, you're doing the things that need to be done, and it certainly applies in the world of AmSpirit Business Connections or other similar organizations, where you're there on a consistent basis, and through that you're developing a level of trustworthiness that you're going to come through. And if not, you're moving on to another group, or you're continually having one-off relationships, and again, continuing to scramble to build a relationship. But I think we all strive to build a level of trust. And with connectivity, same sort of thing. You're around enough, you're competent, you're getting referred things, and a lot of times when you're getting, again, back to the handyman, a lot of times the handymen are getting referred off to other people who have needs similar to other needs that have been served. For example, notwithstanding the one handyman I had that did the door wrong, he shall remain unnamed. Again, nice guy, just not terribly competent. But let's say he was, and I would just let other people know about him. Yeah, he did this for me. He does a lot of small projects. He's great. He's in, he's out. He's reasonable with his prices. Give him a call. He'll take care of your problems. And so in time, that particular handyman, the good version of the handyman I've just described, is going to be picking up work. And that's what I find a lot of times with respect to people, handyman type, really a lot of types of people. Attorneys. I think every attorney kind of starts out and just, fumbling with themselves to find clients. But then you find one good client, and they tell another person, and tell another person, and tell another person. And then pretty much your stable gets fuller and fuller. But you're building a lot of connections in doing that. But it's the clarity piece that I see people stumbling upon. And I see them stumbling when they're dealing with people that they might not have served to begin with, or they're stumbling because they may have served somebody, but they've only served them in a limited capacity. So again, let's use the handyman. I get a handyman come in, he installs a door, he does a great job of it. Right? I trust him, give him the money, go get the door, Comes in, he does the job, he does it right. Wow, everything's great. Then all I know is that he's the door guy. I don't really know anything else about him. Now I can surmise that there are other things that he might do, um, but I don't know for a fact. And that's really the clarity problem. He's communicated to me that yeah, he does doors, but whatever, what else might he do? Now, again, I can surmise. Okay, if he does doors, he might be able to do a light plumbing, install a faucet, um, you know, paint, whatever else, clean a carpet. Um, I can surmise. I can certainly ask, but that particular person is not necessarily on my radar. And I see people falling all the time, falling down all the time. Metaphorically, obviously, and not actually falling down, but hurting themselves with respect to the notion of clarity. They have, to a degree, demonstrated a level of competence, or at least people believing they're competent. Somebody's been doing what they've been doing for a number of years. Yeah, they're competent. Somebody's been an attorney for a while. Yeah, they're competent. Um, and they can establish credibility with you, trustworthiness, but you still might not be able to recognize opportunities for them. And that gets into the clarity piece. And I think that's the thing that individuals, I need to work on, everybody needs to work on. And we run into all sorts of problems with respect to it. You're going to, in time, you'll have the competence. You'll be known as competent. You'll be perceived as competent. You'll develop the trustworthiness, and the connectivity will come. But I really believe the clarity is the key. It's the secret sauce. It's the key to getting referrals. It's, getting people to understand what would be a good referral. Yeah, I install doors. I also install windows. I also, will do this, hand railings. I can do this. I can do this. As an attorney, yes, I can do a simple will, but I can also do a trust. And a will and a trust is nothing more than a contract, so I can also get into contractual matters. And I can also, negotiate, and I can also do this, and I can also do that. But I think what we really need to get, what we need to understand is that, well, a bit of understanding is the key to referrals. Getting people to understand how to recognize opportunities for us is key. And I see a lot of people, when they don't get referrals, what they automatically assume is that people don't like them, or that people don't think that they're competent, or don't think that they're trustworthy. And then they'll double back down on the notion of competence and credibility, when what it is it's really about being clear as to what it is that they do. I spent some time in the last few days really sort of going through and thinking about this, and I want to put together a whole well, not just a worksheet, but I want to put together a whole library of what I'll call commercials, because I hear people out there giving their commercials in the AmSpirit Business Connections world, and even people that I just talk to, random people that I talk to throughout the country. And what they try to do is they try to say everything, and I talked about this in an earlier episode. In trying to say everything about themselves, they end up saying nothing. And I'm always a big fan of, just talk about one thing. Yeah, I do lots of things, but here's one, for example. Because nobody's going to sit there and listen to the umpteen different things that you can possibly do and be willing to give you that time of day, or give you that sort of time to really understand. But when you try to say, well, I do everything, then you're really communicating nothing. And so you kind of need to read the room and say, okay, this is where what I should probably be trying to communicate the most, based on the type of people that are sitting around the room. For example, a handyman talking to somebody, who lives in a wooded area might talk about cleaning gutters out or putting gutter toppers on or something like that, knowing that that's probably makes a little more sense. Or if you're a financial advisor and you're talking to a group of people, there's a lot of young parents talking about saving for college, is where you want to try and create more clarity, as opposed to if you're talking to a group of people who are recently retired, saving for college might not be on their radar. Might be for grandkids, but chances are understanding about the issues that face retirees, when to take Social Security, when not to take Social Security. And there are lots of different things. We all have lots of different things. One of the things I did in AmSpirit Business Connections, and I'm going to continue to build out this library, but I put a whole bunch of different commercials together for property casualty insurance agents, and there's all sorts of different topics. Employees using their personal vehicle for work. I'm not going to get into all these. Somebody having a home office. Well, how does that, how does insurance change there? Covering big boy toys. Giving people clarity that, I handle people who, have bought the RVs, the motorcycles, the boats. Talking about insuring pools and trampolines and dogs. Collectibles, getting people to recognize that if you're a property casualty person, that you help people with collectibles. Renter's insurance, getting people to understand that even though they don't own the apartment, they own everything in it, and they ought to have renter's insurance to cover it. Or talking about youthful drivers. If you have a youthful driver, getting people clarity that, if you're a property casualty person, I deal with this sort of thing. And each of these can be separate commercials. People complaining about premium increases. First-time home buyers. Somebody driving their car for Uber. Those are all sorts of things that a property casualty person can get clear about with respect to creating clarity amongst the people who are going to be giving them referrals. And that's just the property casualty person. The health insurance person has their own litany of things to get clear on. People who are in job transition. Do you go with COBRA or do you get another sort of plan? There's just lots of different types of things. I could go on and on and on with respect to this, but if you're really keen on getting referrals, you certainly need to take a look at Oudi's book, Work Your Network with the 4 C's. But I'm willing to bet that competence is not your issue. You're competent. I'm willing to bet that credibility is not your issue. You're trusted. I'm willing to bet that connectivity is not your issue. You know lots of people. The big issue you have is getting clear, getting people to understand how to recognize opportunities for you. And it's that piece of understanding that will generate more referrals for you in time. That's where people see people getting stuck. They've got the competence, they've got the credibility, they've got the connectivity, but it's the clarity that they really need to hone in on. So think about that as you go about your day and continue answering the question, what's a good referral for you?
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.